This is going to be part 2 in the finding astronomical cycles video that I put out before, looking at the astronomical units. The astronomical units measured to the galactic grid. I pulled the data from the galactic grid sheet that comes with the Perfect Storm book. In this video, I'm going to use my Star Trek's Millennium program from Air Software. I'm using the astronomy module, and I'm just doing that so you get a visual to see what these differentials in distance look like. So I'm using the same period of time from December of 23. I'm going out to through March of 2025, where we are now. And I'm going to look at Mercury, Venus, and Mars. So here's a look at the distance differential on Mercury. I'm just going to double click the next row down. That gives me Venus. You can see the Venus orbit, or movement in distance from the center. And then Mars would be the third planet. Then I'm able to save this data, and it saves it as a DAT file. I open it in Excel and then split the columns and then save it as a CSV file. Anyway, here's what the data looks like. So I took the raw data by date from Mercury, Venus, Mars. Then I'm going to look at the Mercury, Venus pair together, Mercury, Mars, then Venus, Mars. And then for the heck of it, I'm going to look at all three, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, averaged, and see what that looks like. So on the first part of this here now, I'm going to go to the soybean chart, and I'm going to compare the Mercury, Venus, and Mercury, Mars. So this data is basically the Mercury and Venus is basically what I showed in the first video. It's not really different. Both programs are measuring this off to the galactic center. Going to the soybean chart, I've marked the AU astronomical unit differential from Mercury and Venus with the vertical lines, and then I've used the arrows to mark off Mercury, Mars. Now you can see we get some good significant pivots, and we also get some more minor pivots and even some breakout points. Our first, because Mars has a slower movement, the Mercury, Venus, and Mercury, Mars can be close at times. So we basically have overlap on our first December date right here. And we've got the blue vertical and the arrow for the Mercury, Mars basically coming at that minor low. We did get 4 days up behind that. Our next point, we had this major low. The Mercury, Mars was the breakout bar on this little sideways triangular consolidation. So that put it in to the move down that went right to the next time point of the Mercury, Venus. Then we had the Mercury, Venus point here was a minor high, and then the Mercury, Mars point was this significant low. The next point, we had these a couple days apart. The Mercury, Mars was a low, kicked it right up into the Mercury, Venus 2 days later, which kicked it back down. At this major low here in August of 24, we had both of these measurements coming together at that significant low. They were 1 bar apart at the significant high. They were 1 bar apart at this high before this good push down. And then in January, we had the low on the Mercury, Venus. We had a minor high on Mercury, Mars. We had a minor high on Mercury, Mars, which pushed it right back down. Here in March, from last week, then we hit the Mercury, Venus line, and it kicked it back up. You see we have 2 impulse bars back to back with a close on the high, indicating we're going to have some more upside to be looking at after that. So that is the Mercury, Venus compared to Mercury, Mars. Let me bring in the 3-planet look and see how those compare to these. Now I've added the triangles to this chart, which is the Mercury, Venus, Mars average of the 3 planets. So some of these are a little bit convergent and other ones give some more isolated pivots. So looking at those, the first date comes in right with the Mercury Mars here. This one is kind of a midpoint. It's on this bar, which is right in the middle of that swing down. Next one is 1 bar off this minor high. So we had Mercury Venus kick up to the 3 planet average, kicked it back down to the Mercury Mars. Here again we've got this Mercury, Venus, Mars combined with Mercury and Mars, just a little 2 bar push up. Next point was this minor low here. Then we're at the minor high right here. Next one over is 1 bar off the Mercury Mars high. Basically all 3 of those are convergent there at that minor high. We had the low here on the Mercury Venus, and then at our 3 planet average we went right up to that point and that flipped it back down. And the last one on the chart here in March was in alignment with the Mercury Mars arrow. So that's what that looks like. I probably wouldn't look maybe beyond Jupiter with this. You might want to look at some other planetary bodies. You start getting into the larger planets with slower moving, the differential on the distance isn't going to be that great. The smaller planet measurement's going to dominate, so you're going to come up with the very, same numbers in all likelihood. Anyway, this looks pretty good. You're getting some significant pivots, and you're also getting some tradable pivot points. So this is pretty good. If you're looking, for ways to find things that work in the market, this is how you go about doing that. You get yourself some astronomical data, and you test it on various commodities. So I tried this on soybeans first because I mentioned in video 1, Bayer did a lot with Mercury, Venus, and Mars with astronomy. And this is just, a way to test another method. So all I'm doing here is averaging the distances and using the oscillation of minimum and maximum, which is very vibratory. Consider the law of vibration. Vibration is an oscillation, right? So what we're doing, we're just using minimums and maximums on these distances of 2 or 3 planets together. But anyway, the next step would be to take these dates and use them, apply them on different stocks or commodities and see where else they may work.